أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. This is study number 3 of the Ramadan Daily Quran Studies for the year 2022, presented by myself, Zahid Aziz, on behalf of the Ahmadiyya Anjuman Ishat Islam Lahore, UK. The topic of this study, we are continuing with fasting in Islam, and the topic here in particular is developing good qualities. First of all, the first quality is patience. This is a quality which is developed and strengthened through fasting, because we have to wait till a certain time to satisfy our most essential physical needs and desires. And what is patience? Patience means to persevere in a difficult situation voluntarily, even though you could adopt unlawful or unethical or immoral means of getting out of that difficult situation. But you restrict yourself to only using lawful and moral means. And there's a verse in the Holy Quran in chapter 2, which some people consider as referring to fasting by using the word patience. And it is this: وَاسْتَعِينُوا بِالصَّبْرِ وَالصَّلَاةِ وَإِنَّهَا لَكَبِيرَةٌ إِلَّا عَلَى الْخَاشِعِينَ الَّذِينَ يَظُنُّونَ أَنَّهُم مُّلَاقُو رَبِّهِمْ وَأَنَّهُمْ إِلَيْهِ رَاجِعُونَ. Sadaqallahul Azim. And this means, and seek assistance through patience and prayer, sabr and salat. And this is hard, except for the humble ones who know that they will meet their Lord and that to Him they will return. Chapter 2, verses 45 and 46. And this seeking of assistance through patience and prayer is said to refer to fasting and prayer. After patience, the second quality I wish to mention is thankfulness. It is only deprivation that can make us realize and value the blessings which we usually take for granted. Thankfulness for what we have got, for what someone has given us, is a quality which is not only commended and approved of and stressed by Islam and indeed by the religions, but all human beings recognize the importance of thankfulness. And that is another quality which we learn and strengthen through fasting. Another quality, or you might call it two qualities, are charity and generosity. And this quality of thankfulness, which I've just mentioned, should not merely be confined to our feelings or our words, that we are thankful, we are grateful for what we've got. It must be manifested practically. The deprivation of fasting should make us sympathize with the suffering of others, and it should create in us the urge to help others to alleviate their suffering. And there is a hadith which is recorded in Bukhari, Sahih Bukhari, right at the beginning of the whole collection of Bukhari. And in translation, it is as follows: the Messenger of Allah, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, was the most generous of all people, and he was most generous in Ramadan when Jibril, or the angel Gabriel, met him. And he met him in every night of Ramadan and read with him the Quran, read with the Prophet the Quran. In other words, the angel Gabriel refreshed the memory of the Holy Prophet with the Quran that had been revealed up to then. That is what is meant by read with him the Quran. And the hadith continues, so the Messenger of Allah was more generous in the doing of good than the wind which is sent on everyone. So this is how generous the Holy Prophet was. And as it says here, he became even more generous in the month of Ramadan. And it is because being charitable is one of the purposes of fasting that those people who are unable to fast during Ramadan physically, and also they are unable to make up for these missed fasts after Ramadan is over, they are required by the Holy Quran to feed needy people instead of their fasting, which they could not do and which they are unable to do permanently. And the Holy Quran says in this connection, وَعَلَى الَّذِينَ يُطِيقُونَهُ فِدْيَةٌ طَعَامُ مِسْكِينٍ. And those who find it extremely hard may effect redemption by feeding a poor person. Chapter 2, verse 184. Another object of fasting which is stressed in the Quran is to learn to refrain from usurping the rights of others and the belongings and possessions and properties of others. In fasting, we voluntarily give up even what is rightfully ours. It is our right to consume our own lawfully earned food and drink, but we voluntarily give that up during fasting. So how can then we think of taking what is not even ours but belongs to someone else? And the last verse in the Holy Quran, in the section on fasting, is this: وَلَا تَأْكُلُوا أَمْوَالَكُمْ بَيْنَكُمْ بِالْبَاطِلِ وَتُدْلُوا بِهَا إِلَى الْحُكَّامِ لِتَأْكُلُوا فَرِيقًا مِّنْ أَمْوَالِ النَّاسِ بِالْإِثْمِ وَأَنْتُمْ تَعْلَمُونَ. And do not swallow up your property among yourselves by false means, nor seek to gain access with it to the judges, to the authorities, so that you may swallow up a part of the property of other people wrongfully while you know. In other words, as an act which you are doing knowingly. Chapter 2, verse 188. Now he is swallowing up your property. How can you swallow up your property which belongs to you? Swallowing up your property may mean the property placed in your charge, which is meant to be used for the benefit of others, such as government property or community funds. And these words among yourselves indicate people colluding with each other to usurp community or national property which is not rightfully theirs, but it can still be called your property because it's the property of the community to which they belong. And they are meant to benefit from it as members of that community, but they are misusing it for personal purposes. So this verse also prohibits people from bribing the authorities in order to take what actually belongs to others. As it says, do not seek to gain access with it to the judges. And we have here to note with regret, with deep regret, that in Muslim countries, this particular command is violated so blatantly and widely that the outside world and the Western world has come to think that bribery and corruption are a part of Muslim culture. And they cannot even imagine that Islam has anything to say in condemnation of these malpractices. The above verse, which I've read, makes the teachings of Islam on this point abundantly clear. And we should remember that honesty, truthfulness, and probity are also human values. And whoever sticks to them will benefit and will be held in high regard, whether they are Muslims or non-Muslims. In fasting, we give up for a short while the use of things which belong to us, which we are fully entitled to use. And this abstaining teaches us that sometimes in this life, in our ordinary lives, for a higher purpose, it is better to give up something that we are entitled to instead of insisting on having it. And this can help to establish peace between people and nations. If you do not insist on every little thing that should belong to you, for a higher end, you prepared to give it up. And lastly, I would say that often in this life, if you want to get what you are entitled to, such as, for example, a person suffers some loss which is covered by his insurance policy, in order to get what you actually lost, people find they have to claim more than what they're entitled to. Because then through negotiations, they'll actually get what they think they're entitled to if they claim more than what they're entitled to. And obviously, to claim more than what you are entitled to involves use of falsehood. Fasting teaches us only to demand what is rightfully ours, even if it means having to settle for a little less. And that is the end of study 3. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتوب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم. آمين.